Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Global Intelligence Update. And as always, we've got a great guest with us. Joining us this week is Sonia Samtani. And for those that don't know, let me give you guys a quick introduction. Sonia is a coach, an NLP trainer, 2 times TEDx speaker, and licensed clinical hypnotherapist, arguably one of Hong Kong's most qualified mental wellness professionals with 18 years of experience. Sonia is a sought-after keynote speaker delivering concepts that are backed by evidence and supported by testimony. Sonia has impacted more than 25,000 people. Her success includes supporting racing driver and Formula Renault to win 12 races in a row, permanently resolving deep-rooted issues in a single session and moving people towards a desired outcome. Sonia has received recognition as Hong Kong's Women of Power and Best Wellness Practitioner by several publications. Sonia aims to empower individuals with simple and powerful tools to move from judgment to acceptance. Wow, Sonia, and thank you for joining us all the way from Hong Kong.
It's a pleasure to be here, Chris. Thank you for having me.
With that introduction, was there anything that I missed that you'd like to add on?
No, and more than qualifications, I love it when you mention that my bigger purpose is to move people from judgment to acceptance, which is basically underlining all the stuff that I do, because the modalities can change, but the message is the same. And that message is to kind of move through layers of judgment and be at peace with the way things are. And that leads to resolutions of issues.
Yeah, no, that's really amazing. And I think there's such a big part that you play in the world today, especially in the field. So we're really happy to have you here. And I want to kick off the session with some questions. And the viewers that are currently live, if you guys have anything, please just pop it in chat. We'll get to it. If it's not during, it might be a little bit after. But yeah, your questions will be seen. So Sonia, can you tell us more about your practice in hypnotherapy and how it helps people overcome their challenges?
Yeah, sure. So I have a practice in Hong Kong called All About You. And it's called All About You because basically it's about your beliefs have created your reality. And that is what hypnotherapy helps with. It helps to understand the beliefs that produce behavior. So when people come to a hypnotherapist or any type of coach or therapist, they generally come to change behavior. Like they don't want their feet to shake when they're speaking in public, or they don't want to binge eat, or they don't want to have a certain habit. And just focusing on stopping the behavior is not very helpful. That's why 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February worldwide, right? Because it's not about just saying, stop doing this or start doing this. It's about understanding why you do what you do. Why am I binge eating? Why am I smoking? Why are my legs shaking? And that comes from a belief system. And these beliefs are created usually when we're very young. And our major beliefs are created between the age of 0 and 8. And in order for you to discover and resolve those beliefs, you need to go beyond your cognitive and rational thinking. Because if you could just use your rational thinking, then you don't need to go to a therapist at all. You could just say, oh, well, I decide to be confident in speaking in public. Yeah. I decide not to eat compulsively. But it's not so easy because there is a belief system that says, let's say I'm lonely and I need to fill that void with food, or I'm unsafe and that's why my legs are shaking. So with hypnotherapy, we discover the limiting belief that's producing that behavior. And we discover why you have that belief. Where did it get created from? And then we work to shift that belief through working with the subconscious mind, which is much more powerful than just talk alone, because it works by accessing the subconscious mind and bypassing the defense mechanism, which is the critical filter. So we put people in a trance-like state. And in that trance-like state, they can focus on the topic without their defense mechanisms, and then they can create shifts. So I hope I said that simply enough.
Yeah, no, I find it very interesting, hypnotherapy, and how you can basically reset or find out more information about a person in that regard. So wow, no, that's very interesting. So on that, I think you get this question quite a lot, but what are some of the most common issues or struggles people face that you address through practices?
The struggles will boil down to some sort of a feeling of not being enough. That's the underlying, right? So a person can come with a presenting issue, and the presenting issue would be a fear. It could be, very often in Hong Kong, it's insomnia, anxiety. So I can't sleep properly. I'm anxious all the time. A fear, a phobia that they have, relationship issues, where there's a persistent pattern where, for example, they feel abandoned or rejected, work stresses where they feel like a failure. So at the surface level, the feelings of failure and rejection are hurtful to the ego. At a deeper level, it's a feeling of I'm not enough. So people come with that presenting issue of somewhere where they've got a fear, a phobia, persisting pattern where either they're feeling rejected or they have a sense of feeling like a failure. We look at that, and then we look at what's deeper than that. We address it so that now, not only do they not feel like a failure or rejected so often, they're also working on feeling more whole.
Yeah. Wow. No, that makes sense. I think everyone on this call or that are listening offline at some stage of their life have been in that position, has moved or had to try and move through that, even if it's resolved or not resolved. So, wow, that's quite interesting. And for those that don't know, Sonia wrote a book called 52 Thoughts of Conscious Living. I'm going to post a link in the chat now. And I want to ask you on that, what inspired you to write the book 52 Thoughts of Conscious Living, and what are some of the key takeaways that the listeners can look out
Yeah,
for?
I actually launched this book during COVID. So there was no proper launch because it was launched during the lockdown. And I wanted to give people a tool to take them week by week through the year. So 52 is because there's 52 weeks in the year, and there's 52 chapters. Each chapter is just 2 pages. So each chapter pretty much looks like that. And it talks about a certain topic, and it gives you an exercise to do to take you through the week. And for example, it talks about standards, boundaries, what exactly is happiness, how to set conscious goals, what acceptance is about, and how to pray without asking for things. So it looks at like real life concepts and things that we deal with day to day. And it gives you knowledge and wisdom as well as exercises so you can apply the knowledge and you can move through it. So you can basically open it to any page and say, well, this is my message of the day. And funnily enough, I've got chapter 25, which says failure or rejection, which is what I just spoke about. And these are the 2 biggest fears. Or you can read it from chapter 1 to chapter 52. And you can go through it however you like. So this was quite popular about 4 years ago when I launched it. And as I said, it was for COVID. It was a popular Christmas gift. It was a very popular corporate gift that people gave to their employees as kind of like a best friend that can understand you, understand what the deeper issues are, and help you move into a more peaceful place.
That's very cool. And Sonia, are you working on another one? Are we seeing one in the future?
Actually, I am. I
Oh, no,
don't
that's great.
have a date for when that's going to be out, but it is going to be about navigating through the laws of Earth.
Cool. That sounds awesome. So, yeah, guys, yes, sorry, Sonia.
I said, yeah, and we can talk about that if you like, what the laws of Earth are, how to navigate through it. This is something that I have seen persistently in my sessions. And so I thought, hey, why not have a next book talking about 3 fundamental laws that people tend to miss or bypass.
Yeah, no, I think all of us would be very interested in that. We really enjoy anything to do with consciousness, with nature, with improvement, I would say, in all sense of and regards. But now that you've mentioned the laws of Earth, how do you see the laws of Earth contributing to the challenges people face today, and how can awareness of these laws help them?
I see that a lot of people are not working with nature, and instead we have an idealistic impression of how life should be. And the more we have that idealistic impression, the more miserable people are going to be. And the three laws that I talk about is the law of duality, the law of impermanence, and the law of equanimity. And people tend to not take that into account sometimes. And then why are we unhappy? Because what happened is not what I want or not what I like. And when it's not what I want and not what I like, well, we make it then personal. It means there's something about me, or the world is against me, or I'm not lucky. And then we tend to feel not at peace. And for me, I boil it down to two kind of states. Either you're at peace or you're in pain. So peace is, it's beyond happiness. You can actually be at peace with sadness and move through it. So it's a state of acceptance. And when you're not at peace, you could be sad, angry, fearful, guilty, and anything else. And then I would call that a pain state. So going into the laws a little bit, the law of duality is about accepting that there's going to be an upside and downside to everything in life. And you are going to face the dark parts, and you are going to face the shadows. I mean, even Jesus Christ wasn't free from all of those things. All the saints and sages were not free from facing the dark parts of life. So accept it and expect it, because it's there and it's going to be there no matter what. That's the duality. And many people don't make space for it. We act as if, oh, it should be good, it should be pleasant, and rejection shouldn't happen, and failure shouldn't happen, and I should get what I want or like. So that's the first one, to truly navigate through and accept. I find that the younger generation is much better than we have been, because they're being educated differently. The second one is impermanence. So sometimes we tend to want things to remain the same. So I'm the CEO, I need to remain the CEO. And when it's time to kind of like give those reins away, it's so difficult because I'm attached to it. Or if a relationship breaks down, why did it? It should have been the same. Or of course, if someone passes away, we find that very difficult to be with. But one of the laws of nature is that every single thing that is physical will not stay the same forever. Everything that is physical will evolve, deteriorate, change, die. That's just nature. And again, we don't make space for that usually. And the third one is taking it a little bit from Buddhism, equanimity, which is more about balance. And my interpretation of that is that in every given moment, there is an equal amount of support and challenge, but it may occur in a different form from what you thought. So maybe the challenge is on the outside, and the support is the resources that you have inside to deal with it. Or sometimes if you're debilitated and you've got physical ache, the challenge is here, and the support is coming from the environment. So if you look for it, it is balanced. But again, we don't see it that way because we expect something different.
Wow, no, I'm very interested or very, very excited for your next book. That's such a great topic to talk on. Very, very, very interesting. And yeah, we'll be waiting for the date.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm kind of like wanting people to incorporate that, and then understanding what happens when we don't. And we build identities, right, on looking good. So most people are interacting with each other based on their identities. And the whole purpose of your identity is to make you look good. And what's underneath this mask is often the fear. And the truth of the fear is actually, I don't feel very good. And that's where imposter syndrome and all of that stuff comes into play.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking, that immediately came to mind when you said, and it's a fear inside, I immediately thought imposter syndrome, and it's scary actually.
Yeah, but what's underneath that? Sorry, if it's okay to even deeper,
yes.
right? So the imposter syndrome is the truth of the fear, and that's also not the truth. The fear is a layer. What's underneath fear is a layer of disillusionment, where we've kind of like stripped away from the truth, and we've made things mean that there's something wrong with me. And that happens when we're children. So psychologically, when we're children, we're quite egocentric. So mom and dad are having a fight, there's something wrong with me. My brother played with his friend and not me, there's something wrong with me. So we get disillusioned and we make it mean there's something wrong with me, which then gives rise to the fear, which then gives rise to the identity. But what's underneath that illusion is the truth, which we don't tap into so much. And the truth is, you are enough. you are loved, you are safe, you belong, which again, not so many people tap into.
Yeah, wow, that's very interesting. Eh? Hey guys, I'm really enjoying this. This is so cool. I
It's a bit
see we've got
philosophical.
sorry, Sonia.
I said it's a bit philosophical, I know.
No, we love it. We love it. I see Stephanie says there, dear Sonia, could you please elaborate on the laws of Earth? Ooh.
So those are the three laws that I spoke about, which was duality, impermanence, and equanimity. And Earth is a planet that's different from other planets. So not every planet has duality, for example. Not every planet is bound by a dual nature. And on Earth, we are here to learn what something is by understanding what it's not. So we're here to learn, for example, love by understanding what love is not, success by understanding what success is not. So we're here to actually have the entire spectrum of experiences, which is what the School of Earth is here to teach us, from my perspective. And we're all going to be due. We're all going to be due to kind of learn the light and dark side. So yes, I see you said okay.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Stephanie. Let me jump back on the hypnosis. How can principles of hypnotherapy and conscious living help entrepreneurs overcome mental blocks and achieve greater success in their business ventures? We touched a few, just an overview answer on that one.
Yes, it can help by understanding and releasing limitations. And those limitations are belief systems. So if you understand what belief is governing your behavior, and then you can use hypnotherapy and the conscious living principles to move through that behavior. So for example, a common belief system would be, I'm not good enough, I'm not safe, I don't have a place here, I need to prove. And you could have made this decision when you were 5 years old, that I need to prove that I'm good enough for my mother or my father. It's very common in therapy for things to go back to family, and that's nothing against the role of mother or father, it's just our environment. So we're influenced by our environment, and we form interpretations based on what experiences we have. And those interpretations are not always supportive. Sometimes they're very limiting. So we're going to discover what those limiting beliefs are, and then we can use therapy to move through it. And one thing I'd like to add about that is that limiting belief often is referred to as, for example, your inner critic. It's that voice that says, no, you shouldn't, and maybe don't do this right now. And our job is not to get rid of that inner critic either. Some of my clients say, well, how do I ban this or banish this inner critic? And if you're doing that, you're kind of in a conflict with yourself, because it's a part of you. And it's a part of you that got created for self-protection. So instead of wanting to eliminate or banish that inner critic, personally or professionally, it's about understanding it, having space for it, giving it love, and kind of like inviting it along with you, where you're in charge and you are the awareness that is in charge, and you are treating that as kind of your inner child that you are lovingly parenting along the way. And then that voice of the inner critic shifts, not because you want it to, but because it's received so much love and reassurance that it doesn't need to do the same behavior anymore.
Wow, that's great advice. And I can completely connect and agree with you on that, because as a youngster myself, when I was in school, it was I wouldn't say it was expected of me to be good in sport, but, I was one of those guys that was always just pushing, and I wanted to be the best, and I wanted to impress the people, because a lot of people were putting quite a lot of pressure on me for that. And, I realized after school what impact it had on me mentally. And, yeah, it's very interesting for you to confirm that for me. So I think a lot of the listeners and viewers that are currently online, I think there's a lot of connection points on the insights and the stories that you're sharing. So yeah, thanks on that, Sonia. And let me jump straight in back to the next question. How do you balance spiritual insights with practical methods in both your hypnotherapy practice and your writing?
Yeah, that is a great tool to be able to navigate, to look at these principles, which can sometimes be so conceptual, and how to apply them. And the way to apply them is to do daily rituals, right? So understanding it is one thing. We understand that being loving, for example, has more benefits than being right, because being loving is beyond judgment. Being right is still about judgment. Now, how can I apply that? You apply that with little mini exercises that you do. And I like to advise people to start with doing something in the morning and something before they sleep, like bookends of the day. So if you can wake up in the morning and perhaps start with setting an intention for the day, checking in with yourself, kind of being like, hey, Sonia, how are you doing? So, coming out, doing a real authentic check-in, which can be quite different. The way that you would ask someone, how are you? You kind of ask yourself that, let the authenticity come out, and then set an intention for the day. What then I advise people to do is some form of breath work, because breath work is beautiful for emotional detoxification. And that's a practical tool, because emotions are meant to be experienced fully. But because we judge them, we suppress emotion. So when we are doing breath work, we're actually breathing through those emotions and bringing up to the surface what's suppressed, and then allowing it to move out. So that's another practice. And then doing perhaps a meditation of grounding in the morning. And then at night before sleeping, I would say start with a daily review. A daily review is reflecting on the day, because reflection brings wisdom. We can only get wisdom and understanding once we look at things in retrospect. So look at what happened in the beginning of the day to the end. Look at what you've learned, and look at what's perhaps not finished for you, like you're still angry about something, or you're still sad about something. And then my suggestion is mentally imagine you are closing those files, like kind of, the background apps of your phone. So it's not blazing in the background. And this really helps with insomnia, because it closes the stuff that's open. So you're not sleeping with an open to-do list. So daily review, lessons, close your files. And then I would say breathe, do 7 deep breaths for anything that's unfinished. And then sleep with an affirmation that reinforces the way that you'd love to feel. So those are kind of simple ways to start and end the day that I would say will, put this in a way that's more practical. And then the rest of the stuff comes, of course, when we do workshops and therapies, and I can give more personal exercises.
Yeah, one of those are gold nuggets you just shared there. I think we most of us would agree that's amazing stuff, and such amazing advice for us. I mean, I need to start practicing it again. I've been doing most of them for quite a while, but it's been a while that I've been off. For example, meditation. I used to meditate every day for at least an hour, and it's been a while, so I need to get back into that routine, and I need to get back into the affirmations. So yeah, this session has been great for me, guys. I'm loving this. I hope you guys are too. So what advice would you give someone that is struggling with their purpose? I mean, we're here in the Circle of Excellence. We really believe in you need to have a purpose, for things to really work out for you. And there's a lot of people that are struggling with that. What would your advice be on that?
If people are not clear on what their purpose is, I would ask them to do a reflection exercise on what is a repetitive pattern that you see, and what's something that's recurring in your life, because purposes for me is a lot to do with lessons. So for example, my purpose would be to move people from judgment to acceptance, because that's the lesson I need to learn most for my life. And that is a constant, persistent lesson and a pattern. And for me, that's what's given me the most freedom. And I continue to see parts of myself that I've not loved, that I've judged, limiting beliefs that I've had, and I felt invisible in the past, giving love to that part, moving through judgment. So if you take a look at anything that is recurring, anything that's a pattern, and ask yourself, well, what is there to learn? What needs to happen for me to be at peace? Maybe it's around acceptance. Maybe it's around boundaries. Maybe it's around expression. Maybe it's around finding courage and strength. then you might be closer to what your purpose is, not in a way that it's about doing. It's not about, oh, I'm a hypnotherapist and that's my purpose, or, you know, I'm a philanthropist or I'm in finance, but it's more about the lesson. And then the expression of that lesson, usually I would say, is free will. So I can express my lesson as a therapist or as an author, or I could go and I could do some charity. So that's what I would say, to kind of discover what that purpose is through understanding what the lesson is for you, and then passing on that lesson and being an expression of that lesson to the world, and then finding an expression of it that works for you. I hope that makes a difference.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thanks for sharing. I can just imagine. I'm just thinking for myself, like, wow, you must be so amazing on stage. I would just sit there in awe, just listening to all this information that you're sharing.
Love questions and answers. I feel like there's so much learning that even I get when people ask me questions that I've never heard before, because in order to answer it, you need to access a certain part of consciousness. And that's how you grow. So yeah, I love interviews and questions.
Oh, no, that's awesome. Corin says, sorry, she has a meeting. All good. Thanks, Corin. Thanks for joining us. And for those that not following or not connected with Sonia, she just shared her LinkedIn page. You guys are more than welcome to check her out and see what Sonia's all about. Sam saying, thanks for that explanation of purpose. I agree. That was awesome. If there's any questions from you guys, more than welcome to pop it in chat, or you can unmute yourself. And you can ask the questions. But Sonia, just want to say thank you again for allowing some time to be here with us. If there's anything I missed or you'd like to add on, please, you can do it.
Yeah, I think you've asked some beautiful questions, allowed me to elaborate on what I'm really passionate about, which is, again, you know, navigating through acceptance of the way that life is, like the acceptance of the dark and light, and the acceptance of impermanence, and finding the balance of where there is strength and where there is challenge. And this is going to be continuous. So it's not that, oh, well, even with myself, now that I know this knowledge, I'm done. I'm not done at all. Because once we have this wisdom, we get amnesia almost every morning and we kind of forget. That's why it's so important to do the practices. Because even though we have the wisdom, and I could have written books on the wisdom, it doesn't mean that it's ingrained unless it's in practice. So, expect that you will tend to plug out of it unless you consciously practice it. And so wisdom is great, and practicing that wisdom is essential. And then the choice is yours, and be in a space where you do it from inspiration and not from a should.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Angela also saying thank you. Timely reminder. Yeah. It's like Sonia said, sometimes we get so stuck into, you know, the world and all the things we need to do, we forget about our practices. So what we really need to do on focusing on ourself, our soul, you know, our purpose and so on. So yeah, anyone have any questions before we head out? So yeah, I just want to say again, thank you, Sonia, for being with us. And you know, she's calling in all the way from Hong Kong, and I'm definitely going to connect with you and follow the content that you share. And we'll definitely be waiting out for the new book. That's exciting.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I've got a YouTube channel as well, if anyone wants to tap into. I do kind of like bite-size 1 or 2 minute pieces of wisdom, again, to take you through the day. Most of the things that I do is very much bite-size because I'd like people to be able to digest it and then use it immediately. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. And it's been great to be on the show.
Awesome. So I'm assuming you can just YouTube Sonia Samtani, and then they'll find you.
Find my channel.
Great. Awesome. But thank you for all the live viewers that are here, and for everyone that are listening offline, just LinkedIn or YouTube, Sonia Samtani, and you'll find her on LinkedIn, you'll find her on YouTube, you'll find her all over the web. So yeah, thanks everyone. And thank you again, Sonia. Adila also saying thank you. I hope you guys have a great week ahead, and we'll see you guys again next week.
See
Bye,
you
everyone.
soon. Bye.